What is up, fellas and lady fellas? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, we've got more cards sprinkled in from Eternity Code. Konami's just doing this. They're just doing like 2 cards a day. Bloop, bloop, little sprinkle, little Salt Bay sprinkle of two cards every single day. We're going to get more than that, though, because we still have like 35, or it's not like over 30 cards, and the set comes out in the OCG in 9 days now, so we're going to get more than 2 a day, but we'll probably get a cluster of a bunch, in the next couple days. But for now, we've got a new INFERNOID card as well as a brand new SYNCHRO that's generic and pretty spicy. So let's get into it. So we'll start with Avoid Calamity, a continuous spell card. You can only activate, or you can only use one of its first and second effects of this card's name once and only once that turn. So I believe this is, you have to pick one. You cannot use both in the same turn, which is kind of a shame, but still, it's nice. First effect, you can discard any card, then send a fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard. Second effect, you can send this face-up card in your spell and trap zone to the graveyard to send Infernoid monsters with different names from your hand or deck to the graveyard up to the number of monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned from the extra deck. So this is a pretty interesting card. It's kind of like a setup card for Infernoid, because one of the ways that Infernoids don't get things done is when they're not able to load up the graveyard to make those big summons, to get multiple summons off of the Infernoids in their hand. And this card does help with that. I mean, I will say the discard is like not the best. I mean, not that this deck really hates the discard, but it is just extra. It's one less card from hand just to get another card engraved. It should get you some pretty good setup to be able to pop off pretty hard on that first turn. Also, it does send any fiend generically to the graveyard. I don't think there's anything that's like that great with that effect, especially with the discard at the moment. But, dark decks and fiend decks do tend to use the graveyard. Something like Burning Abyss might want to use this at some point. I wouldn't be surprised, but we'll have to see on that. And the second effect's, I think, higher ceiling, because you get to send possibly 2 or 3 Infernoids from deck to grave. But the main thing here is just that your opponent has to control. It's going to be relying on how many extra deck monsters your opponent controls. So they already kind of need to pop off a little bit, which is whatever. So going first, you're definitely going to use the first effect. Going second, you're probably going to be trying to use the second effect. And it's just trying to set up your graveyard. Get the Infernoid cards, materials you need engraved to get some banishes off, get some special summons, and go to work. But it's a fine card. I'm not sure how many you'd play in a Infernoid deck, but it's okay at very worst. So but also I don't know that much about Infernoid, so definitely let me know if there's like better stuff that card can do specifically in that deck. And next up we have a Ravenous Crux or Arcadis, whatever. He's a level 9 synchro. He's completely generic. He takes any tuner and any one or more non-tuners. He's a fish. He's water. He has 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense, which is interesting because that's very, very small for his level, but we'll get that. And his first and third effects are hard once per turn each. The first effect, if this card is Synchro summoned, you can draw 1 card for each non-tuner monster. Use his material to Synchro summon this card. Second effect, this card gains 500 attack and defense for each card in your hand. And third effect, as a quick effect, you can discard 2 cards, then target 1 card on the field as cost, and destroy that card. So overall, this card is pretty good. I mean, really, looking at this, people might say, like, it's just okay. But what I think is interesting is that when you look at synchros, because so many level 9 synchros back in the day, when they came out in a time where, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Wasn't all about just negates and disruptions. You need more negates, you need more disruptions, you got to build a bigger board, better board. That's not how the game was, and so Konami made a bunch of level 9 synchros that are not really going first cards at all. I mean, Trishula, you need your opponent to kind of set up a little bit, and that's when you rip their resources away. The Vermilion Dragon Mech guy, I think that's his name. He's like a going second card, not again like removal and floating effects and just a big body. Whereas this guy is really the first level 9 synchro that is pretty solid going first. I mean, it's going to let you dig through your deck, and I'm assuming most of the time when you're making a level 9 synchro, you're going to probably be using 3 materials. 3 monsters for a summon, which is a draw 2. You're just going to pot of greed. At the very worst, you just draw 1 card. So it digs you deeper for something that you might be looking for if you're playing hand traps, other stuff like that. Could be very nice. As well as he's just a disruption. And a lot of these synchro decks, the synchro turbo decks, we'll call them, end are like so resource sufficient that like you end with like so many cards in hand. Like you might end with 5, like a full hand of 5 cards. And so the discard 2, which I'm not gonna lie, feels kind of brutal as far as like how much cost you gotta pay just to like get a pop. But if that pop is the difference between like halting your opponent's like board, why not? Why not? And so yeah, he's gonna get weak pretty quick. Because you're not going to want to hold so many cards in your hand just to make sure his stats are higher. Like, that's not worth it. But, you know, I think he's still pretty good. I think overall he's a good card. And I think people will come around to that. I think he will be used at some point. Just because he's a disruption, he digs you deeper, and he can be a Chungus, potentially. And he just has the niche of being a good going first card, whereas none of the other Synchro level 9 monsters really are at all. So I think for those reasons it fits into a specific niche that no level 9 Synchros really had before. So that's pretty much it. These are the 2 new cards. Again, like an Inferno card, Infernoids have already been like able to top in like the last couple months in big events, and this will only serve to help them. I don't know how playable it is, how many copies people will want to play, but this only serves to help them. Again, this set just more like cards that people will want, like people that are interested in playing Synchro spam decks. This is definitely an interesting card to keep your eye on for disruption and drawing. And then this card, if you're already playing Infernoids, like a deck that's already been a pretty good rogue deck. So this deck is just filled with, or this set is just filled with a bunch of like small one-off cards that like there's a cluster of people that are going to want those. There's a cluster of people that are going to want that, and every card almost that's been in the set so far announced, like somebody's going to want, and that's pretty cool that almost the whole set is like desirable to somebody, or has cards that are desirable to somebody so far, which is really nice because I think sometimes there's a little bit too much fluff, a little bit too much undesirable, filler that they put into these sets, but this one seems to be better than most at that, and I think it's a great way to start the new era. To get us into the next master rule and all this stuff. So stay tuned, guys. I'm gonna end the video off here. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay tuned for more videos from your boy, and subscribe if you haven't. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Peace.